In a landmark decision that pits federal authority against local autonomy, a federal judge has permanently barred the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops to Portland, Oregon. But here's where it gets controversial. The ruling challenges the very foundation of presidential power under Title X, sparking a heated debate over when and if the federal government can intervene in state matters. Let's break it down. Updated on November 7th, 2025, 10:16 p.m. EST, CBS AP. On Friday, U.S. District Court Judge Karin Immergut issued a sweeping 106-page ruling that halts the Trump administration's plans to send National Guard troops to Portland. This decision comes after President Trump announced in late September that he would deploy federal forces to the city in response to protests outside a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) facility. These demonstrations were fueled by public outrage over the administration's immigration policies. Trump later placed 200 Oregon National Guard troops under federal control and attempted to deploy an additional 200 federalized California National Guard troops to Portland, a move that ignited fierce resistance from local and state officials. But what's the legal basis for this standoff? Trump invoked Title X of the Federal Code, which allows the president to federalize the National Guard if there's a rebellion or imminent danger of one. However, Judge Immergut wasn't convinced. She wrote, "This court arrives at the necessary conclusion that there was neither a rebellion or danger of a rebellion, nor was the president unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States in Oregon when he ordered the federalization and deployment of the National Guard." In simpler terms, she found no evidence to justify such an extreme measure. And this is the part most people miss. While the ruling permanently blocks the deployment, it allows the National Guard troops to remain under federal control for at least 14 days. This temporary compromise highlights the delicate balance between federal authority and state sovereignty, a tension that's far from resolved. The Trump administration, unsurprisingly, pushed back. Assistant Department of Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin argued, President Trump is using his lawful authority to direct the National Guard to protect federal assets and personnel in Portland, following months of violent riots where officers have been assaulted and doxxed by left-wing rioters. The president's lawful actions will make Portland safer. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson echoed this sentiment, stating, "The facts haven't changed. President Trump will not turn a blind eye to the lawlessness plaguing American cities, and we expect to be vindicated by a higher court." But is this really about safety, or is it a power play? Democratic Oregon Governor Tina Kotek called the ruling, the fourth of its kind, a validation of the facts on the ground. Oregon does not want or need military intervention, she said. President Trump's attempts to federalize the Guard is a gross abuse of power. She also highlighted the human cost. Oregon National Guard members have been away from their jobs and families for 38 days, while California Guard members have been deployed for over a month. Her message to the Trump administration: send all troops home now. Here's where it gets even more complicated. Title X grants the president broad authority to federalize the National Guard in cases of invasion, rebellion, or when regular forces are insufficient to enforce federal laws. But Judge Immergut's ruling raises a critical question. When does a protest become a rebellion, and who gets to decide? This isn't just a legal debate, it's a philosophical one about the limits of federal power and the rights of states to manage their own affairs. A ruling follows a 3-day trial in which Judge Immergut found no credible evidence that Portland's protests were out of control. She described Trump's portrayal of the city as war-ravaged, with fires all over the place, as simply untethered to the facts. The Trump administration has appealed the decision to the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, setting the stage for a prolonged legal battle. So, what's next? The 9th Circuit has agreed to rehear the case before an 11-judge panel. leaving the National Guard federalized but not deployed for now. Meanwhile, the debate rages on. Is federal intervention necessary to restore order, or does it undermine local authority and escalate tensions? And what does this mean for the future of state-federal relations in an increasingly polarized nation? We want to hear from you. Do you think the federal government overstepped its bounds, or was President Trump justified in deploying the National Guard? Let us know in the comments. This is a conversation that's far from over.